Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I am Porter Hayes, and alongside me, as always, is Adam Hall. And on tonight's show, we'll talk about Sam Pittman's day at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. And then, second segment, we will have Kara Richey from the Ticket Radio Network and the Red Wolves pregame show. Adam, you had a very interesting guest. Didn't get to watch the show last night, but having Richard Smith come on to give some insight. I know y'all had a great conversation with him last night. Just talk a little bit about that and how everything went.
Oh, it was awesome. Respected Richard Smith and his football career going into what he's doing now at the university. I always enjoy getting insight from former players, talking about how things were then versus now, which he has a different point of view being at the university now, the world that he's used to as a player versus now being in administration and whatnot. So, it's really cool getting to go back and kind of relive some games, relive some plays, his time in the NFL, his time in the NFL Europe, just to get that point of view. So, it was really cool. Hopefully we'll have him on more during the season, break down some of the games, things like that, and see where it goes.
Yeah, and don't forget, future episodes, Hog HQ Sunday nights, coming to you live at 8:05. It's really good because I've always wondered, with the former players, like now with the transfer portal, they're always with like, man, what could I do with NIL money and the transfer portal? I mean, you're talking about the whole Pandora's box of what ifs, and just think of somebody like him, what they could have done with NIL or what they, if I could have had this earlier, invest in. Just life changing, but it alters where they are now. Maybe they wouldn't end up the place they are. So everything works out for a reason on that. Before we get going any further, if you're like us, Saturdays are for the Hogs and Sundays are for an NFL. And with FanDuel, you can bet like a pro. Whether you're stacking a game parlay on college or sweating a last-minute field goal in the NFL, FanDuel puts the power in your hands with live odds, quick bets, and easy cash outs. New customers either score bets just for signing up. So if you call the Hogs or you ride or die with your favorite NFL squad, make every down count, bet college, bet pro, bet FanDuel. And today, Sam Pittman made his annual appearance at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, which we have a few clips that we'll break down for you from today. But, he was a mixed bag for me. There was some comments he said that, man, you could really get behind. But then there was other comments. You're like, okay, I just really, again, I guess I'll start off with the negative part of it is that there was a comment, which I know a lot of people are proud they want to see, but it's like, it's almost like I felt like he is mad at us or ones. I'm not saying just us, but for those who are doubting them being successful this year, doubting that they'll win 7-8 games when they haven't proven why they're going to win 7 or 8 games, regular season games. So that was the one takeaway from it. But he did say that, come out and said he'll surprise some people and he's seen this, but then again goes back to we're the fastest and strongest team he's ever had. And he's talking about Michael Washington and just how fast he was and how there was nobody on the defense that could catch up to him. And we kind of alluded to in our previous episodes, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? And we're hearing concernings, other media outlets, other content creators are saying that there's concerns on the defensive line. So how much weight do you put on one? It's a scrimmage. And yet here again, Adam, we're hearing about how strong and fast these players are without seeing it on the field.
I take it all with a grain of salt because we're still in, the talking season, if you will. One thing I have noticed in the few clips that I have watched is, during these scrimmages, they've been putting up on the video board when it's first team offense versus second team defense, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen glimpses of it a couple of times, and the 2 times that I have, I've seen first team offense versus second team defense.
Yeah.
I've yet to see first team versus first team. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't take to heart in these what comes out of these scrimmages. This is more for the players, I feel like, than it is for us. We're just dissecting the little bit that we do get. Um, I think a lot of us have had the same or similar questions about the defensive line, and everything's going to be decided once they actually take the field to play their first game, which we're still not going to get the whole answer going against Alabama A&M, but it's one of those that if it was flip side of things and Talon went out there and threw 4 interceptions in this scrimmage,
Mm-hmm.
they'd be downplaying it. So we're playing up the good, and we wouldn't be talking about it if there was bad. So it's one of those that I'm not saying I don't care, because I do, but at the same time, it doesn't hold a lot of weight because it's still August 18th. We still got 12 more days to go. So I don't really think much of it at this point. And then the ranking thing, whether they should or they shouldn't be, the mad at media, mad at other folks because of us not thinking that they're going to get 6, 7, 8 wins. It's one of those things that, are you mad that we're doubting you? And if so, why are we already setting ourselves up for, hey, if we do go out there and underperform, we do go out there and win less than 6 games, it's all because of this difficult schedule. So which is it? Because you can't have it both ways.
Exactly. And I'm going to be honest. If this is what you say, and I hadn't seen the clips, but I'll take your word for it, and I trust you heartily with it. If it's 1s versus 2s, you better be scoring touchdowns. You better be dominating. Because that's what we want to see when you're playing Alabama A&M. That's what we want to see when you play Arkansas State. That's what we want to see when you play Memphis, dominating. You might squeeze out the win against Memphis, but if you have the game in hand, and I'm going to say, like, if it's a 31-17 game, you handled business, won by 14 points, I would take that as a win over a team like Memphis. Or even if it's a 7, they score on the last drive, it's a 14-point game, and then Memphis scores there at the end in a meaningless touchdown. I'll take that. But I would hope that Mike Washington is able to outrun the second team defense, because that's what you're expected to do. You're an SEC team. Let's see 1s-on-1s. How are you really? But to that point, if you don't have the depth, and we've seen what happens when you don't have the depth, do you want to risk injuries? Do you want to risk these things? So yes, grain of salt, but I've not heard much from the defense and the clips. And maybe they're doing that, like you said last week, by design. They want to come out and showcase this offense. But when you are talking about someone scoring 40 from 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards, then you pull back the curtain and you're like, oh, well, that's against the 2s. Well, that's what it should be. So, like your favorite shirt is mediocrity, embrace it. I mean, it's like, okay, we're clapping at the fact that they're scoring on the 2s.
Mm-hmm. Here's that clip right quick, just so for those that hadn't seen the Little Rock Touchdown Club video today.
Before, Mike Washington. I normally don't talk about too many guys. I'm going to tell you, he's good now. He's fast. We've had three different scrimmages, and he scored 50, 60 yards every scrimmage. And I'm happy and I'm sad. You know what I mean? He's running down there and go, hell, who we got to catch him,
Of course, the choppy video.
Yeah. Sorry for the technical difficulties on
At least you heard what he was saying.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly to that point. That it's on the 2s. So not saying again that this team's going to be complete garbage, or, I am calling for, I think I said 5 wins, maybe 4. I think I've eased up a little bit. I think I might go 5, but I just don't see it unless they do surprise a team and they upset a team. the max I'm going is 6. And when we talked before we went on the air, I feel personally, if they win 6 games this season, 6 regular season games, and they get bowl eligible, his job is safe. It's not my opinion. It's just how I think it's going to play out, because I think they're going to use that S word as their advantage. Well, look, we made another bowl game with this. We made another bowl game, and it's going to buy him another year. Then I don't know if you have the clip uploaded or got it yet, but the one where he was talking about the financial inequities. Again, this rev share, this savior. I don't understand unless I'm not reading into it correctly or enough. I don't know why they think that after this year, there's going to be a lot of balance when it comes to this NIL stuff.
I've got it, and it's choppy again because I didn't check CapCut. Shame on them. So, but the audio is fine in it, so ignore the video. Listen to the audio.
This year will be the last year, I think, that where it's going to be some inequality in finances. In other words, a lot of programs push 20, 25 million forward so they could have their 13, 14, 15 million in rev share all available for this class. I think this is going to be at least if the rules go through and the law goes through, that would be the last year for that. So I think it's going to, when we were all even, we went from 4 and 20 to top 20, when it was all even. And so I think this is the last year for that. And then we can compete financially with everybody and anybody.
Really confused about that when he says going from 4 and 20 to top 20. And if you're talking about the top 20 finish in 21, so you're in 25 now. So I don't understand where you're saying, well, we went from here to here, and then 4 years later, look where we're at. I don't understand the comparison there. And then talking about if the laws go through, we're going to be equal with everybody else. I don't even see that. I don't see it unless I'm missing something, Adam. I don't know. We've had other people on and they're scratching their head, but unless I'm missing some bylaw or something that's going on with this new NIL rev share thing, are they under the impression that everybody's going to get 25 million and that's it? And no extra income can come in? Is that what they're thinking is going to happen?
I don't think they fully know what's going to happen because I don't think any of us really do. Because, it was one of those things, okay, with the rev share. Of course, it was, hey, when we get this, it's going to be even playing field. That's what they told us before. Even playing field when the rev share starts. Guess what? It started. You still have NIL. You still have all of this other stuff that comes into play. So now it's, well, let's wait till next year when all these other, it's just always, we're always moving the goalposts. We're always changing. It's always going to be next year. It's always going to be because of this, that, and the other. Point blank, period. You have rev share just like everybody else does. You still are going to have to bring in money from NIL. That's not going away unless something major is changing that none of us know. You're still behind. Because if this was the case and there was all these things changing that was going to benefit you and benefit your program and make everything easier in a sense, then why is a school like Texas A&M signing guys basically 2027 class for upwards of $5 million guaranteed? If you're talking 2 years out, but they've basically got this kid on the hook for $5 million, which roughly half of that was going to be out of rev sharing and the rest NIL. They wouldn't be doing that if things were changing. I just don't get it.
Now, if I'm not wrong, or I could be, now you could still, it's just everything over a certain dollar amount has to be reported.
Correct.
Okay. So who is going to be the governing body that denies these NIL deals? Who's going to be the ones that says no?
See, and that's the thing is, hey, we're going to have third party arbitrators, but we've yet to see the who, what, when, where, why. we've yet to hear about these deals being reviewed. We've yet to hear about anything being denied. And maybe on the front end, because they knew it was coming, a handful of these were like, hey, here's our business plan, like we've talked about before when it comes to these NIL deals. Here's the proof in the pudding with he's getting paid for this many signings, this many appearances, this many ads, whatever the case may be. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt all these people had their ducks in a row. So at this point, I don't see anything coming up. I think until it's a high profile player or a high profile school that there's questions around, that somebody starts pointing the fingers from another school before they step in and say, hey, we need to look at this stuff. You know, whether it's Ohio State pointing the finger at Michigan or vice versa, whether it's Alabama pointing the finger at Georgia or vice versa. I don't think anything is going to be reviewed by an arbitrator until there starts being the he said, she said stuff between schools.
Exactly. And you've seen what happened to Michigan, slap on the wrist, and yeah, you're going to give the coach a show cause to what, 2039 or something like that. Okay. What's that to him? It's a Pete Carroll situation all over again. You don't vacate any of the wins. So you've already set a standard of, well, look what you did to Michigan. So now moving forward, who's going to done that? And there is so much money. You look at ESPN's new deal. They're joining up with Fox One, all this stuff where they're wanting to expand the playoffs. They're wanting to, do streaming. You're seeing UFC doing away with pay-per-view, and they're going to these streaming outlets. Money is coming to these networks. You think they're going to sit there and they're going to deny somebody an NIL deal? There's too much money there. This is a business now. I said this 3 years ago when they started it. As soon as it become a business, players should get paid. It is a business now. And if you really think that they're going to come in there and say, all right, everybody gets 25 million, you're going to spread it about and let's break it down to other sports. So you're saying that every year it's only going to be 25 and you're giving the golf team $28 each. And that's how it's going to be from here on out. How is that fair? How is it fair that, say the women's basketball team gets $100 per person? Where are we building from? There has to be more that's coming in. And you're getting NIL deals. And if you say you have to report this, who is going to say no if you're like, hey, this person's going to get paid $5,000 per visit to this car dealership or this commercial? We know their name, image, and likeness is going to be this. What if they give them $50,000 to be on these commercials that are ran full year, and they do 2 or 3 of them? Now you're at $200,000 just for that one deal. So I'm really scratching my head on where they're under the belief, unless I'm just being totally ignorant about it. I don't understand the belief that they think that rev share is all that they're going to be. Everybody's playing a fair game, and they can just count on that 15 to 20 million being even with everybody else in college football. There's no way that's happening.
No, there's still a lot of questions, and we're still in the, rather than be proactive or being reactive, NCAA and conferences. So it's ridiculous. I still think it's going to take a long time until they get in, whether it's more lawyers, a CBA, or something. I think that this is just going to be one screw up after another. And then before we go to break here, I'm going to redeem myself with the rankings quote from Pittman, just on where is my. I just didn't know what to think of his demeanor today.
Yeah.
I think it was along the lines of the same thing from the SEC media days, where it's just kind of down a little bit. But I'm going to play this one right quick.
I don't know what the guys who never played it down predicted us, and all that kind of stuff. But I know that we've got a really good freshman class that we do. Hence, if you don't want to rank us, that's fine. Don't you have to play all of them anyway? Roll that thing out there and let's see what happens. That's fine. We don't need to be ranked. If you don't want to rank it, we surprise a lot of people. We ain't surprising me. We've got a really good football team. We really, really do, and we're excited to get out there and play.
It was funny you played that. John Neighbors put that out there, and he was going back and forth. I agree with, because I can't sit here from last year and say, man, I wish he would show more passion. I just want to see more passion from the guy. I wish he would show more. And he does. And then I still go against what I said on it. I'm glad he said what he did. He's showing passion. But have you not seen what we've seen on the field the past couple of years? Have we not seen the horrible stretches? You're not able to beat Texas A&M. You lose that game to Oklahoma State. You can't beat Missouri. You know, you're pissing games away. You're losing games that you should win, and you're mad at us, guy that never played football, but we watch what's going on. So it's funny. It's like, I don't even know the words to use. I love the passion, but the condescending tone of just because we haven't played a down of football doesn't mean that what we're seeing on the field is trash. After the break, we're going to have Kara Richey on. You know, has she played football? Has she played college football, high school football? But she covers the Red Wolves. So is her takes or anybody else's takes discredited because they've never played it down of football?
I mean, with that, I just better never hear a quote from Sam about the baseball team, the basketball team. Because guess what? You know, I did play basketball, so I guess that's the only sport that I'll be allowed to further comment on from here on out. So
schedule.
I'll see y'all.
Now, well, let's start this. We'll start this. So no more saying the word schedule, and we can't talk about things until basketball season.
Correct.
So, all right, I'll write that.
We'll see y'all in November.
Pass it on to HR. So, but anyways, we're going to take a quick commercial break. After the break, we'll bring on Kara Richey from the Ticket Network and the pregame Red Wolves show. We'll catch you right after the break. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials ensure to have everything you need, whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck. Plus, our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Look no further than ATU Ozark Campus. As a 2-year satellite campus of Arkansas Tech University, we're dedicated to a quality workforce education, industry partnerships for in-demand jobs, and tailored paths for success. Our programs are led by industry professionals. Whether it's a certificate or you're aiming for a graduate degree, ATU Ozark has you covered. Visit our website at www.atu.edu/Ozark or contact us at 479-667-2117. Your future begins here. Welcome to Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, where our mission is simple: encourage, promote, and aid an enduring environment of shared economic opportunity and civic development for the Ozark, Arkansas area. Whether you're a local business owner or a resident, we've got something for you. Shop our unique local businesses, explore the beauty of Ozark, and savor local flavors and find cozy accommodations. Join us in building a stronger community. And to learn more, contact us at 479-667-2525. Remember, together we thrive. And want to welcome you back to the Hog Talk podcast. Now we're joined via the Metters Lumber hotline by Kara Richey, the Ticket Radio Network, and she does the pregame Red Wolves show, doing a lot of coverage for Arkansas State Red Wolves. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me.
So first off, when you heard the news that they are finally going to play this game, when they finally said, all right, enough is enough, we're going to play Arkansas State in Little Rock, what was your initial reaction, and what was the fan base's initial reaction of we are finally getting to play the Arkansas Razorbacks?
I think maybe a little disbelief. I'll be honest, I still am kind of struggling a little bit with disbelief. Like, I might not really realize this game is occurring until I pull up to War Memorial Stadium on September the 6th. I was going back, sometimes in the summer, we do a question of the day every day on the show. And sometimes the topics in the summer might get a little stagnant. There's not breaking news. So for years and years and years, if you had a slow week, if it was the All-Star break, it would be like, all right, we'll throw out the age-old Arkansas State question. Not even if the teams would play. Sometimes if the teams would play, sometimes when the teams would play. So when that news broke in 2020, it kind of seemed like, all right, is this all right, cool, I guess it's going to happen. So there was initially, of course, a lot of excitement because it's genuinely a game that I honestly didn't think it was ever going to be played. Or if it did get played, it was going to be like 70. So a little bit of disbelief, a whole lot of excitement. And now I'm kind of back to disbelief, but the fan base is certainly getting geared up. There's a lot of fun conversations about this game. So it's going to be a great time, and it's just 19 days away all of a sudden.
So, a lot of the noise, if you will, about surrounding this game started, or we feel like started getting louder when Chad Morris was here. A lot of us took that as because Arkansas was so down, that's when we started hearing more of the uproar with it. Has the tone shifted any 2025 now that Arkansas is in a much better state than the dumpster fire that we were in? Or is it still just about the same? People are just ready to see it?
No, you're just ready to see it. This is not necessarily a game that I think should be played every year. This is not, play it once every 20 years, just something, just every great once in a while. The tone is not changed. I can't remember when I first saw this bumper sticker. It's been out there forever and ever, but there's a bumper sticker that you'll see from time to time driving around Jonesboro, and it says, "How long will those hogs run?" And it is the picture of Runnin' Joe, who, of course, has not been the A-State mascot for, I don't know how long now, 25 years, more than that even. But it's the mascot of Runnin' Joe, like chasing a Razorback on the bumper sticker. So this has been a game that a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time on the A-State side of things. So Arkansas could be coming in as the number one team in the nation. They could be coming in as somebody who was rated 136 in one of those 1 through 136 preseason polls, and the sentiment would still be the same.
And, Michigan, I'm going to segue into Michigan. I'm sorry I led off with that, but Arkansas State is they're not familiar with playing big teams. And you've seen how they played against Michigan last year. There's a lot of people saying, well, you play the, national champions, 10-point. How much motivation do you think that goes into this game of knowing that not only can we play with the big teams, we have a chance of upsetting an SEC team, and it being that in-state team in Arkansas?
So one thing that, look, I do it too, but anything that's happened in previous years with A-State football is almost irrelevant to this year. There are 70 newcomers on this team. So the number of guys that played at the Big House last year is pretty small. Now, that being said, there's a Michigan State transfer that's played there before. There are SEC transfers that have played in these huge environments before. So there's not really a ton of carryover in terms of the guys last year that played both at Michigan and then also played at Iowa State that ended up being a very good team last year. But in terms of, the motivation and things like that, all of these guys on this roster, they're from, not everybody, but a lot of them are from states with SEC programs. And undoubtedly they feel like, they belong on this field. They deserved that offer out of high school that they didn't ever get. So this is an opportunity to show a power program that they're missing out, even if it's not necessarily the power program from their state.
Is the team, Arkansas State, doing a good job for themselves, just worrying about week one, not looking ahead to the Arkansas game, focused in? Because I think sometimes as fans, we like to jump ahead to, week 2, week 3, whatever the case may be. But is the program just eyes on the prize? We've got to get game 1 out of the way first.
I think so. The players are saying the right things, right? Like they're saying, SEMO is the season opener, and then to completely be a hypocrite and to flashback on last year, A-State had Michigan in week 3, A-State had Iowa State in week 4. What happened in week 1? UCA was a terrifying nightmare of a game. So A-State, the few guys that were here last year, they can drill that into their teammates. Hey, if you look ahead, something really bad can happen in week 1 against SEMO, because SEMO is going to be the team that comes in with that motivation and full of players that think they should have got the FBS offer and they want to make a statement and prove a point. So it's really difficult as fans, for sure, because you look at this A-State schedule. Week 2 is Arkansas. Week 3 is Iowa State. It's going to be the first time A-State is hosting a top 25 opponent. It's going to be a nationally televised midday game. I can't tell you the last time that's happened, if it's happened. So it's real easy as a fan to just skip right over week 1 and go to week 2, week 3. But the players are at least saying the right things. Will they act that way when it's game week next week? We'll find out. But the message right now is good.
Well, you bring up a good point, because you can almost gap Arkansas State and UCA like Arkansas and Arkansas State. And that close call, and I really, if memory serves me right, there was controversy at the end of that game. Could have very well been a loss, if I'm correct, in that UCA Arkansas State game. So you're talking about not overlooking any games, but yet you have this huge once-in-a-lifetime game. So I think you can kind of do both, because I was taught in high school, for every rule there's an exception. I think this is the exception. You can keep everything in front of you, but good and well, nobody's going to believe you when you say you haven't had this game circled on your calendar since they announced that they were going to play this game. And I honestly, it goes for both sides, not just Arkansas State's side.
I would be interested, and this won't happen, in polling the players, because there are a smaller number of in-state players on this Arkansas State roster than I realized. So for some of them, while they're hearing this from the fans, while they're hearing this from their in-state Arkansas teammates, like they haven't grown up around these conversations. This is new to them. They probably never realized until the game was on the schedule that these teams have not played each other before. So I'm not sure what exactly those conversations would be like, if you polled a player on the A-State roster that was not from the state and asked, hey, are you looking more forward to week 2 or week 3? But, look, there's still a lot of motivation and a lot of fun, and hopefully they're not looking too far ahead.
And to piggyback off that, do you think that helps the team? Having a majority of these players that don't know the history, they're coming into this like it's another Power 4 team they're playing against, opposed to if this was a bunch of players who feel slighted, or they know the history and they're just wanting to come out there, and you're playing with a lot more emotions than you need to, and going out there just to prove a point, opposed to these guys know how to play big time football against big time opponents, and this is just another day in the office for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point as well. With so many of these guys not being from the state of Arkansas, again, they don't know the history, they don't know the policy, and they're 19. They might not even care anyways, right? So not letting this game get too big is certainly something that could be good for the guys that are from out of state. Again, for them, it's just an opportunity against an SEC team that I'm sure they're looking forward to, as opposed to it being an opportunity against Arkansas.
Has Butch Jones' demeanor, is it any different this year compared to last year at this point, with having 70 new players or 70-ish new players? Because, I know no cameras or anything were allowed in their scrimmages this weekend. We talked about the very teachable moments, which I like hearing things like that from coaches versus sugarcoating things. But is his demeanor at all different?
Butch is Butch. I was actually trying to think about that to see if there was anything different about his tone or about his statements this year versus last year. Clearly, yeah, you had some more known quantities last year. You flash back to the beginning of 2024 versus this year, where if we start talking about the defense, I'm just going to tell you in advance, there's a lot of unknowns there. But yet at the same time, Butch Jones is very steady. He is pretty much the same guy all the time. So I don't really feel like his demeanor has changed too much about it. It could change once we get closer to the season. But he's pretty much an intense dude, like 99% of the time, and it doesn't waver too much.
Now, leading to that, Butch Jones, I was doing some looking while we were talking. This will be the first time he's coached against Arkansas. If I don't think he coached against someone, he was at Tennessee, or did he? I don't know that for sure, or if you know the answer to that. But I'll just go along with if he hasn't. I wonder what his thoughts are. Look, he's at Arkansas State. He's never coached against Arkansas or Sam Pittman. I wonder how he is looking into this personally, going into this game of, we can roll back the tape, and as well as we do, the head coaches at Arkansas State that used to be a stepping stone school, look, Gus Malzahn and all the guys that I just wonder what his mindset is coming. You're talking about true serum and polling. I would love to know his take on what this game means to him personally, because again, he might have that itch to coach at a higher level again.
I mean, again, there's been just as many opportunities when Jones has been at A-State to go out and have the statements. You flash back to last year, the game at Michigan, not only was that an opportunity there against the defending national champion, but Butch Jones is from Michigan, still has a lot of family and friends in the area. So I know that was a huge one for him last year. Actually have not looked into his background against Arkansas. It's honestly one of those things that hasn't probably would not have even occurred to me until game week. I do wonder, maybe did he ever square off against Pittman when Pittman was at Georgia? I'd be interested to know that. And do you have an answer? Yeah.
I have the answer. Tennessee lost to Arkansas in 2015. The game was played in Tennessee. They lost 20-24.
Okay. Ooh, yeah. So I don't know if, again, with how much things have changed, that was a different coaching staff at Arkansas. Obviously, all the players are different. So I don't know if as a coach, you're still thinking about the revenge factor, but then at the same time, like, coaches never forget anything. So there's no telling. But I don't know if this one is necessarily one that like leaps off the page at him, especially when, again, if you're looking at the schedule, most likely when Iowa State comes to Jonesboro, they're going to be a top 25 team. So that is also another marquee matchup, another opportunity for A-State to get a high profile win.
What is your game day preparation like?
Most of my game day preparation is done earlier in the week. And actually today was a lot of fun because I actually went through my notes and made some corrections. And for the very first time on the game day sheet, I got to type the date of August the 30th, Arkansas State versus Southeast Missouri State, and just go through and look through my notes. So that was just kind of one of those things that puts a smile on your face. But my game day pregame preparation is done during the week. I go out to campus on usually like Wednesday. I'll record the pregame player visit. I'll record the pregame assistant coach visit. I'll go through it. I'll make sure I have my question plenty of time in advance for like trivia, things like that. So once you get to the game, it's just, you just get to talk about football. You get to talk about the matchup. You get to talk about this week in A-State sports and the Sunbelt scoreboard. And so I host the very first hour that leads off our coverage on the EAB Red Wolf Sports Network. And I swear it lasts like 4 minutes. That's what it feels like. Like you start talking and then it's over. And it's like, well, okay, at least we're an hour closer to kickoff now.
So looking ahead to this team, I mean, for those who are not familiar with this Red Wolves squad, what to be looking forward to, talk about all the newcomers. Look to start with the offense. I've heard a lot of good things about the potential of this offense. So just talk about them for a second and some players to watch out for and just some things you've seen out of practice in fall camp.
So I know I'm talking to primarily almost entirely Razorback faithful, and not for 1 second am I going to tell you I'm super educated about Arkansas and their roster, but it does seem like there are some similar narratives with these two teams that are going to be meeting up on September the 6th. You've got some dynamic players on offense, but maybe some questions on the offensive line. And you've got a lot of shoes to fill on the defensive side of things. And I think that's the case in both cases. But starting with the offense, it starts with Jalen Raynor, just like Arkansas, dual threat quarterback that is leading the way. Jalen Rayner started, I think his first time on the field was game 2 of his freshman season. He came in as a backup, and then game 3, he was announced the starter, and he has not relinquished that role since. So he's entering his 3rd year of starting. He is a guy that is a pass first dual threat quarterback. He can scramble, he can make those plays, but they're going to use him more in the pass game than necessarily turning him loose, unless maybe there's some new wrinkles this year that we'll be seeing. But that's where it starts, and that's where it sets the tone. Fantastic freshman year. It took a tiny step back last year as a sophomore with the interceptions. So I think that's a number that they're working to get better at, just getting better with some decision making and things like that ahead of 2025. He's got a dynamic wide receiver in Corey Rucker, who is entering year 6 for Arkansas State. And actually took 1 year. We went to South Carolina and then came back. But Corey Rucker is Arkansas State's all-time leading wide receiver in terms of yardage. But I think this year, the big motivation for him is that all-time receiving touchdown record is still within reach, and he's not there yet. So that's going to be a big motivating factor for him throughout the season. He is the stereotypical number 1 outside wide receiver. He can make a lot of highlight plays. He's a consistent guy. They're going to go to him early and often, and he's going to make most of those catches. After that, the depth is a little bit of a question mark because it's either completely new guys or it's guys who played last year but sparingly. One guy that I'm really excited about in the receiving game is a guy named Chauncey Cobb. He's actually Jalen Rayner's roommate. He'll be the slot guy, fastest dude on the team. He has just had a really good, really steady fall camp, even though coming into this year, I think he has maybe 1 catch and 1 carry in his collegiate career so far. He's a redshirt sophomore. But he'll be the guy to watch there in the slot. The run game is probably what excites me more than anything else. I just feel like there is a multi-headed monster in that room, and it starts with Jaquez Cross. I call him the Fordyce Flash. That's where he's from. I think I'm the only one. So I don't know if that name's going to stick, but I'm going to roll with it. But like a lot of teams, A-State has a thunder and lightning combo. They're running back. I don't know who's going to get the first carry of the season, but if it's not Jaquez Cross, who's the lightning, it's going to be Kenyon Clay, who is a Southern Miss transfer, who is more of the stereotypical, bigger body power back. One thing about Clay, though, is he's a lot faster than you normally see from some of those power backs. So you've got a great 1-2 punch right out of the gate. You've got an in-state guy in Cedric Hawkins from Stuttgart who is going to contribute in the run game this year, and I am so excited to see him play. 2023 was his freshman year, and you couldn't keep him off the field. He didn't get a ton of reps, but you couldn't keep him off the field because the talent was clearly there. Last year, tore up his knee in Michigan, and by all accounts, it was a pretty significant injury. He's healthy. He's back. I'm ready to see him contribute. Tight end's going to be solid. And then that brings us to the offensive line, which will have either 4 or 5 new starters. So we'll see. That is still, I think Butch Jones, his favorite 2 phrases so far this fall have been work in progress or ongoing. And he said those phrases a lot with the offensive line and the position battles up front. That if they're going with the number 1 offensive line that I believe that they ran with at practice this morning, I didn't go out there, but I heard some reports, then it'll be 5 new guys up front. So that's always a little bit nerve-wracking. You feel like the skill is there, but can the guys up front do their job? Mm-hmm. And we don't know. And how quickly will they come together? And again, we don't know.
And then you go to the defensive side of the ball where you said you're, again, like Arkansas, there's a lot more questions. So who are some of the ones that to be looking out for and could kind of cause problems for the Arkansas offense?
I really like the defensive line, and actually I'm kind of surprised by that. Not because I thought they would be bad, but just because I had no idea who was going to be up front. The defense as a whole is replacing its top 10 leading tacklers and 17 of its top 20. So there's just a lot of questions there. Also replacing its defensive coordinator, its defensive scheme, and its entire defensive coaching staff. So there's been a lot of learning about the defense as this fall has gone on. But back to, what do I like? What do I think is good? The depth of the defensive line has kind of surprised me a little bit. They've got some really, really good pieces, really good guys that they can run out there at the edge. Javonte Mackey is a guy who played at A-State the year before last. When he first got to A-State, he was a freshman All-American. He was just a really, really dynamic player then at linebacker, but they've moved him to defensive end. He was at Memphis last year and came back. He's going to be a key contributor. One of the other guys that contribute there is Ethan Hassler. That's a guy that I didn't know we'd get to see this year. You go back to last year, he hurt his knee in fall camp. They tried to get him back. I think he ended up playing maybe like 5 quarters of football. So redshirted last year, but he actually went through senior day. But he has been just back with a vengeance this fall. There's been a couple times where it looks like he's almost been unblockable. You have a returning starter there, like the returning starter on the entire defensive side of the ball, and Brian Whitehead at defensive end, a guy that's gotten some preseason all conference accolades and put up some good numbers last year. But then the depth even goes further than that, because you've got Marcus Bradley, DeMarcus Hendricks. You've just got a good group that they can rotate in and out at the edge, and they've got that same kind of depth there at the interior. I don't know if they're deep in the interior, because to be honest, most group of 5 teams are not, and defensive tackle is a tough position to hold on to players right now in college football. They are paying a premium for guys in the interior, but I'm pleasantly surprised by the depth on the defensive line this year across outside interior for A-State.
And we'll wrap things up with this, and we can't not mention it. But we had Kyle Sutherland on last week, and he was talking about this Arkansas State game is considered a swing game for Arkansas and like a must win. And it caught me by surprise. No disrespect to Arkansas State or anything you're talking about, SEC versus Sun Belt. You should go into this game and handle things. But, give us some keys to, if Arkansas State were to pull off the upset, how would they go about doing it? And if they do pull off the upset, how long will the parade be in Jonesboro?
So first, let me give you the coach speak answer, because why not?
Yeah.
The first thing first, and this really is the most important thing. A-State can't beat itself. I flash back to last year, which again, irrelevant with the number of newcomers, but in the 2 games against the Power 4 teams, against Michigan, A-State lost 28-18. That was a game where A-State did a good job of making plays. They didn't turn the ball over until really late. There were a couple of missed opportunities, but it wasn't things where A-State was just steadily beating itself. And then you had Iowa State the following week. I've already blacked out that score. I don't remember what it was. There were no redeeming qualities to that game. A-State threw 2 interceptions before it was even halftime. It was just a big old mess. So don't do that. Don't beat yourself. Don't make the huge mistakes. So that would definitely be the first thing. But then in addition to that, look, your studs have to play like it, right? Like there has to be a really good game from Jalen Rayner. There has to be a really good game from Jaquez Cross. There has to be a really good game from Corey Rucker. Those 3 guys on the offense would have to do some incredibly dynamic things. I think you would need to not let Taylon Green beat you by himself, which he is absolutely capable of doing. Obviously, he closed out 24 with a very dynamic performance against Texas Tech. You cannot let him continue to keep that going in 2025, because he's probably going to be able to do that against Alabama A&M as much as he wants to until he gets pulled, because, of course, you don't want to get him hurt in that first game. So some way, somehow, you're not going to be able to shut him down. He's a great player, but you just can't let him do any and everything that he wants. In some way, shape, or form, you have to make him a little bit uncomfortable. And then finally, find something that gives you a spark. Jaquez Cross is a really good kickoff returner. I know that obviously Arkansas is a great player in the special teams and return game as well that they brought in, but Jaquez Cross has some ability to make things happen there. And so if you have a big special teams play, that's always a huge spark. And a lot of times that's what you see in some of these games where you've got a group of 5 team upset a Power 4 opponent. It's because you have that dynamic special teams moment. So if I was going to script it, that's what I do. Don't start throwing it to the other team. Make at least a couple of tackles against Taylon Green. Have Corey Rucker haul in, just 300 yards receiving somewhere in that neighborhood. He's already done it once in his career. He can do it again. And then kickoff return touchdown for Jaquez Cross. And that's it. And in terms of the parade, it would last until, Butch would only let it last until Sunday. He's really big on the 24-hour rule. But I can tell you that we would absolutely, definitely still be talking about it Monday on my show. And it would probably be a pretty fun and somewhat yelly 2 hours.
Absolutely.
So we'd enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last time there was a big win, you made a DVD out of it, so I mean, there's a lot of people, DVDs, kids are these little round discs that you would put in something at project. You didn't stream, it was a disc, but those things. But I mean, and that's not to poke fun. I mean, that just means it meant something to them to beat Arkansas at sports of any, I think it was women's basketball in the WNIT. So, I mean, it happens. And I think similar, the internet would break, Twitter would break, and on both ends. And I've come on this show with Adam, and I said, if this happens, I think we're going to have a Jack Crow situation where I don't think Sam Pittman makes it back to Fayetteville. And
I'll say
I don't
this.
You go ahead.
If Arkansas State pulls off the upset, Arkansas fans that are listening, watching, whatever, put your phone keyboards away and stay off of social media for the weekend, because you will embarrass yourselves and your feelings will be hurt.
Gotta put it on airplane mode.
Message boards would catch fire.
Oh yeah.
Like I spend too much time on Twitter. I don't know if you guys have ever followed the account Message Board Geniuses, but it's always screenshot from like the most bonkers fans, and it might be a Sunday that is just full of Arkansas posts.
Man.
If that were to happen.
Well, Kara, it was a pleasure to have you come on. Definitely have to chop it up again, once it gets closer to the game, or even after the game, get a post-game reaction from you. But for those who don't know where to find you, if they want to keep up with this game leading up to, tell us, everybody, where they can find you.
As mentioned, I spend too much time on Twitter. I'm at Kara_Richey, and that's going to be the best place to find me. I think I have a work Instagram account. I've never posted. I have a work Facebook page. I don't think I've updated it in like 2 years. Find me on Twitter. DMs are open. Whether you have something positive to say or whether you want to start talking smack, whatever, reach out. DMs are open. It's cool.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. You have a good evening.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. That was Kara Richey from the Ticket Radio Network and the Red Wolves pregame show. I think that, again, I'm still kind of taken aback from Kyle's comments, and maybe it's prisoner of the moment or whatever, but it's just, to me, hearing the insight of, them not having a lot of people that are familiar. You have a sprinkle of both. Look at some of these guys that are in-state kids on this team. They want something to prove, no matter if they were offered by Arkansas or not. They are probably thinking, I want to prove why I should have been able to be a Razorback or should have got an offer. You look at the roster. I've talked to many athletes in different sports. You're always comparing yourself to other people that they've recruited or have on campus. So that's there. And so I think it's going to be a mixture of both, but man, you can't let this be a game.
Looking through the roster, because I was curious, because it's you look at it in passing here and there just to see, but I'm looking through here, and she's 100% correct about, you've got a lot of players that are from SEC areas.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot from the state of Arkansas on this roster as I look through it. But you see a lot of Alabama guys, you see a lot of Texas guys, so on and so forth, transfer ins. So, this is something that, this is more for the fans than it is I feel like this team, Arkansas State, whether it's Arkansas, Michigan last season, Iowa State, whatever the case may be, they're just looking for the bigger team to go punch in the mouth. They don't care if it's Arkansas. They don't care if it's Iowa State. They don't care who it is. And so, this is 100% for the fans.
Well, and she brought up another good point. You look at the schedule, and I'm going to say it, and then this instance for Arkansas State, it's not like this is the only big game they have on their schedule. They play Iowa State the following week at home. So, they're going to be coming into this game. Yes, people are going to say, well, this is your Super Bowl, but we've just proved right here from what she said, this is a fan perspective of this game, which rightfully so. Arkansas State fans have wanted this forever. Arkansas, not so much, but yet they just want to, get it out of the way, and they want Arkansas to handle business, and we might not ever see this game again. You know what I'm saying? It might, like she said, played every 20 years. You got what you wanted, and we'll see what happens. I don't see this being a regular occurrence after this season, but you have that Iowa State game coming up following week. They're going to be focused on this one and task at hand, because another thing, and I didn't even get to ask her this, you're talking about how SEC teams do. How much of the playbook are they going to throw out there, because they still have a conference slate? They still are going for a bowl game. They're still trying to win their conference to be bowl eligible. So that's another thing to think about. But I think both teams have holes to fix, but Arkansas has more forgiveness when it comes to fixing that opposed to Arkansas State. I've said it. Arkansas State's going to have to play an A+ game to even have a chance in this thing. And Arkansas is going to have to turn the ball over, or they're just going to have to, their O-line is just going to get blown up. That's the only way I see Arkansas State making this a competitive game.
I don't think I would be doing my due diligence as the petty person that I am if I didn't bringing up last year's Iowa State game, and she didn't remember the score. It was 52-7. Iowa State won. So I did look that up. I wasn't going to say anything, but you know what? Why not in the grand scheme of fun?
Well, if you are like us, Saturdays are going to be for the Hogs and Sunday for Adam is the Ravens. And with FanDuel, you can bet like a pro. Whether you're stacking a game parlay on college or sweating it out in last-minute field goal in the NFL, FanDuel puts the power in your hands with live odds, quick bets, and easy cash outs. New customers even score bonus bets just for signing up. So if you call the Hogs or you ride or die with the Ravens, make every down count. Bet college, bet pro, bet FanDuel. Adam, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
That's all.
All right. Want to thank Kara for coming on, giving us some great insight about Arkansas State leading up to the game on September 6th. Great shows coming up. Again, we will Hog HQ Live will come back to you Sunday. We will be back on Thursday, and then we'll roll into Monday. But when season starts, we are more than likely going to go back to our in-season schedule. Us at 6:05, Hog HQ Live at 8:05. But for Adam Hall, I am Porter Hayes. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you on Thursday.